America, FBI and CIA agents, and fellow cult members. I'm DiBrava. And as you know, I like to title my shows. So we'll call this one No Sanctuary. Mayor Adams' misty tale of magnificent migrant shelter atrocities. It was at a rally protesting the migrant shelter at the St. John's Villa Academy in Staten Island that Guardian Angels founder and New York City mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa said, and I quote, "And now they've left it up to us, the people. And the battleground, the Alamo, is right here at St. John's Villa Academy," end quote. Now, an outsider might take Mr. Sliwa's words as hyperbolic, exaggerated, or maybe even incendiary to his voter base. But to those that are actually in the know, comparing it to the Alamo is just the tip of the iceberg. This is a saga with many layers, replete with political corruption, corporate money grabs, and historic human rights violations. You see, the atrocities of the St. John's Villa Academy, as well as the complexities of its existence, are not easy to unpack. To begin, we first have to try and understand what the St. John's Villa Academy actually was. Now, officially, it was deemed a migrant shelter. But in speaking to the surrounding residents, I've gathered that St. John's Villa Academy, as well as other migrant shelters in the New York City area, are self-governing autonomous provinces, funded by New York City taxpayers with little to no public oversight. But before we move further, let's take a look at the media coverage of the closure of St. John's Villa Academy. Play the first clip.
A controversial Staten Island shelter now closed after the fire department found serious safety violations.
It was finally move-out day at the St. John Villa Academy migrant shelter on Staten Island. The 170 migrants forced to pack their bags and board buses for the Roosevelt Hotel. The shelter was closed after a fire department inspection found, quote, a condition imminently perilous to life and property. A condition imminently perilous to life and property.
Take a minute to let those words sink in. A condition imminently perilous to life and property. Wow. So, the decision to move the immigrants into this facility was made in August. And here we are in mid-October. I mean, it's hard to believe that city officials, starting with the mayor, as well as a host of city, county, and state agencies, were unaware that this facility did not meet standards for human occupancy. How about the plethora of social service agencies and nonprofit organizations that claim to advocate for women and children? I mean, it seems a bit strange to me that people like New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who once traveled over 2,000 miles to Clint, Texas, to blast the Trump administration for alleged human rights violations at migrant shelters, hasn't shown up to hold one of her infamous press conferences about how poorly these migrants are being treated. I mean, isn't Staten Island a part of the city that she represents? Interesting. Play the second clip.
Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella said there were several safety concerns, including lack of a sprinkler system and lack of a fire alarm.
Well, we've said since this facility opened and it was proposed that it was not a viable entity.
They were dealing with smells of raw sewage coming from the makeshift showers that they created on the site.
St. John Villa Academy is not the only shelter recently closed due to safety concerns. Fossella said another Staten Island shelter at the Richard H. Hungerford School in Stapleton was closed due to asbestos concerns. And last Friday, the city closed a shelter at the St. Agnes Parochial School in College Point, Queens, also because of a fire department vacate order.
Okay, let's start a tally here. No sprinkler systems, smells of raw sewage, asbestos. Oh, and let me add a few more that residents living on the street told me about, like makeshift outdoor shower systems, outdoor porta potties, a basement filled with septic that had to be pumped out after a recent storm, as well as rooms filled with mildew and much, much more. But we'll get into all of that a bit later. First, let's watch a clip of AOC and fellow squad member Ayanna Pressley on the border 4 years ago advocating for better human conditions and rights for the illegal migrants in detention at the time. Play that third clip.
They should be given water. They should be given basic access to human rights. And it is a false notion. The idea that we have to choose between people is a false notion. No child ever has to suffer for the benefit of another.
This is about the preservation of our humanity. And this is about seeing every single person there as a member of your own family. I am tired of the health and the safety, the humanity, and the full freedoms of black and brown children being negotiated and compromised and moderated.
You know what? If, in fact, the Trump administration was holding migrants in substandard conditions, then I would have to agree with them. But looking at that situation in Texas with its massive press conferences, scores of reporters and TV cameras, politicians yelling out standard headline-inducing catchphrases like most vulnerable, preservation of humanity, social equity, inclusion, solidarity, compassion, as well as predictable shots at standard fare villains like Donald Trump, Republicans, big corporations, and faceless Washington bureaucrats, all points to one conclusion. People like AOC and Ayanna Pressley are the abject definition of evil. In the clip, AOC proclaimed that the migrants should be given basic access to human rights. And I agree. But the situation in Staten Island wasn't solved by AOC or the city's mayor, Eric Adams, or his constituency, or its governor, Kathy Hochul, or the scores of government agencies that regulate every inch of life in the state. Okay? Nope. It was a collective band of citizens that made these conditions known. And if it weren't for these citizens, the migrants at St. John's Villa most likely would have spent a winter using porta potties and outdoor showers while breathing in asbestos, mold, and raw sewage, all while being in the care of what many proclaim as the greatest sanctuary city in the world. AOC's backyard. People, these migrants are pawns in a vicious chess match of money, politics, and power. Check this out. In 2019, a class action lawsuit for 55,000 migrants was filed by a host of nonprofit organizations due to healthcare and living conditions. Let's read an excerpt of it together. The suit alleges that the widespread mistreatment and brutal conditions inside the Trump administration's detention centers amount to torture and have driven some asylum seekers to accept deportation out of desperate desire to escape. The atrocious conditions in immigrant detention are an open secret, said Tim Fox, co-executive director at the Civil Rights Education and Enforcement Center, one of several advocacy groups that joined the suit. In a matter of fact, there was a nationwide uproar over migrant facilities conditions. Let's play the fourth clip.
Nationwide protest against the Trump administration's immigration policies and its treatment of refugees come after a congressional delegation snuck a cell phone into 2 facilities in Texas earlier this week, showing women wrapped in blue sleeping bags on the ground. Sarah Koskin brought her young sons.
It is viscerally atrocious.
On Tuesday, another group of Democratic lawmakers traveled to the nation's largest child detention center in Homestead, Florida.
When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to say something.
Close the camps now. Now, let's not forget that the conditions in the Staten Island facilities included outdoor porta potties, outdoor showers, standing septic fluid that had to be pumped out consistently, mold and asbestos, okay? That's just to name a few things. It's actually shocking that none of the prominent Democratic politicians, left-leaning social advocacy groups, or left-leaning nonprofit legal organizations fought against or even raised awareness of the conditions at the St. John's Villa Academy. Kind of weird, right? What's even weirder is that many of these organizations are based, or at least have an office, in New York City, right? Well, one of the reasons is self-evident. None of these organizations actually care about these migrants at all. You see, to them, it's about the numbers. And the more migrants that come in assures more grant money to pay those juicy six-figure salaries, and ultimately more power. But let's now imagine that one of these organizations wanted to step out of the rank and file and actually wanted to visit St. John's Villa Academy and offer assistance to these migrants. Would they be allowed to? Let's take a look at this article from the New York Post that chronicles what happened when a senior advisor to the mayor tried to enter a Midtown facility for an unscheduled wellness check. One of Mayor Eric Adams' prominent aides was accosted by a security guard at a Manhattan Migrant Assistance Center while trying to enter the facility for a standard inspection on Tuesday, according to City Hall and law enforcement sources. A heated argument first erupted around 5:30 p.m. after mayoral staffer Tim Pearson attempted to walk into the former Toro College building in Midtown, which now operates as a migrant respite center, when he was stopped by security guards who asked that he identify himself, the sources said. And the guards then asked for his identification, which sparked an exchange of words that escalated and became physical, according to the sources. Without naming Pearson, City Hall confirmed the incident and said it occurred during an unannounced quality assurance inspection of the migrant emergency site. Those involved in the dust-up, along with the head of the security company, Arrow, went to the Midtown South Precinct after the altercation. One guard was slapped with a summons for disorderly conduct, sources said. Okay, so this scenario unveils the 900-pound elephant in the room here. What exactly is the designation of these migrant centers? Let me repeat that again out loud. What exactly is the designation of these migrant centers? Now, when I say that, allow me to clarify the details of what I've surmised from my time covering this ordeal on the ground while also following Citizens Media, as well as all of the corporate news stories related to it. In the case of St. John's Villa, the city and the mayor's office were presumed to be in charge of it. But how is that possible if the police are just made to stand around? While a private security force called Arrow Security runs these shelters like communist camps. The city police are mostly being used to set barriers around these centers as if they are the cheap security. Check out this video of what happened to a citizen journalist who tried to investigate a Midtown Manhattan migrant center just steps from Madison Square Garden. Play the 5th clip.
Yeah, what is it, huh? Oh, it's a shelter. Oh, good looking. It's a shelter, my peeps. You heard?
You're not supposed to do that.
Excuse me?
You're not supposed to film here. That's what I'm saying. You're not supposed to film here.
What is this?
I don't know. You don't have right to do this.
I don't have the right to do what?
Yes, you don't have right to film in here. That's what I'm telling you.
What is this over here? And who are you?
Okay? You want to know who I am? Please, sir, you don't have right to film here. I'm talking to you right now. You don't have right to film here. Can you please?
Who are you?
I don't know.
Bro,
who are
with
you?
The building. They don't want nobody out here.
They don't want nobody where?
They're standing in front of the building with a camera.
Okay.
Oh, y'all bugging.
And you really want recording, bro? You bugging.
All right, you wait.
Yo, why you surrounding me? Why you surrounding me, yo?
You wait.
Oh, now you want me to wait?
No, you wait.
What's up, yo? What's up with you, yo?
Relax.
Yo, why y'all surrounding me? What's up, yo?
Relax.
You can't be here.
Relax.
You can talk to NYPD.
Talk to who? I don't talk to Popo. I'm not a snitch.
Turn around.
Go talk to them.
Turn around.
Stop playing with me. Look at this one. Look at this bird. Yo, who are you, bro?
Why you on my property?
Oh, your property?
My property.
Yo, stop playing with me, yo.
Now, again, this is a facility that is purportedly run and paid for by the city of New York. But when a citizen with a camera on a public sidewalk, which is totally legal, by the way, points his camera at said building, he is rushed and interrogated by a private security force, who go on to tell him that he doesn't have the right to be there and to get off of their property. To add context to this, the same facility and security staff that accosted the mayor's aide, who was there for an unscheduled visit, what are these people hiding? And what are these facilities? Are they even under city jurisdiction? So much to unpack here, so much to unpack. Roll the next clip.
Dude, don't you realize he's trying to bait you? Let him.
I'm about to knock him the out. That's what I'm about to do. Let him move back. What the is all y'all doing, bro? Right. Especially you, bro. Who the you think you are? Huh? You don't come to the sidewalk and talk to me like that. You hear me? You hear me? Make this the last time you approach a member of the public giving them orders on the sidewalk. Stick to your job.
This is our job to tell you to move.
You don't tell me to move. I don't go by. Who are you? Who are you? Your job is inside, not outside, bro.
Outside.
Who?
Security.
What security? Look at you. Look at the cop right here. What's your name and badge number, brother? I don't know how to read.
It's right here.
What is it?
You're filming it.
What is it?
It's right here.
Say it out for the people, bro.
7807.
Name?
Wasso.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There you go. Now you keep it moving and don't with me before I knock you the out.
Now, let's not lose sight of the fact that this location, 320 West 31st Street in Manhattan, is literally a 30-second walk from Madison Square Garden, making its location one of the most famous public spaces on planet Earth. Who emboldened this private security force to treat a lawful citizen on a public street this way? And did you notice how the police officer was basically powerless in this situation? Protesters at the St. John Villa facility echoed similar sentiments about the private security force there. But their observations revealed a much, much darker reality. Their investigations led many of them to believe that the St. John Villa security force was engaged in unscrupulous acts like drug dealing and selling off the migrants as prostitutes. They also said that the migrants outside the facility told them that the shelter was secretly being run by Venezuelan gangsters who were working with the security guards to pull off all of these crimes. Think I'm exaggerating or being hyperbolic? Roll the next clip. No, that wasn't a streetwise hooker working the hardened back streets of a cartel-occupied Tijuana or the crime-ridden alleyways of Juarez, Mexico. Nope. That was a humble and diligent female migrant refugee modestly walking down a quiet residential street in the heart of a suburban Staten Island, USA. Really? Again, The police officer seems to have no jurisdiction over this matter other than to stand back and fantasize about what could have been. Again, what jurisdiction do these migrant centers fall under? It can't be the city, can it? Check out this next clip, and I'll let former congressional candidate John Matland from Sons and Daughters of Liberty Radio explain what's going on, as he got firsthand accounts from on the ground. Play that clip.
FDNY, check their occupancy, please. Please don't let shut them down. Shut them down. DNY. Hold on for that. Hold on for that. Shut them down. Shut them down. Shut them down. Let's go.
Reports are right after that, the FDNY was denied access to the building by the National Guard and the NYPD white shirts. That is the report on the ground that I'm getting. I'm giving you the information. It was sent in. Follow the collaborator and the person who provided the video. Is this safe? What are they exactly hiding? What is the New York City mayor doing? What the hell is the National Guard doing? So does safety matter or does it not? And how are they allowed to tell the people that enforce safety in our city, like the FDNY, that they can't go into the building if there is an alleged gas leak?
Here we have the mighty FDNY responding to a gas leak at another Staten Island migrant shelter. And again, they're not allowed to go in. I mean, we're talking about a reported gas leak here. Have you ever witnessed a situation where a fire department wasn't allowed into a building to at least give an all clear? This is standard procedure in any city in America, like I said earlier. These migrant centers are self-governing autonomous provinces, funded by New York City taxpayers and policed by unaccountable private entities. Who's going to stop it? Who's going to get to the bottom of this? Well, if we've learned anything from the Battle of St. John's Villa, Curtis Sliwa said it best. And now they've left it up to us, the people. So there's another story brewing here in this kombucha of corruption that I want to touch on because I think it's flying over a lot of people's heads. I mean, being that there are no big left-wing protests, social justice marches, class action lawsuits, or AOC for the media to latch onto, or an anointed supervillain like Donald Trump for the world to point its collective finger at, for pushing migrants into toxic, septic, asbestos-filled death traps. So I figured I would hit the streets of Staten Island to find out who was responsible for this atrocity on a ground level. Now, the obvious analysis will point to Mayor Adams, but who are some of the other bureaucrats responsible for this? I hit the streets of Staten Island and ran into John Tabacco, and he pointed the finger at one person, New York City's Commissioner of Buildings, James Oddo. In the clip I'm about to play you, John claims that 1111 Father Capodanno Boulevard, the place I just showed you with the gas leak, doesn't even have a certificate of occupancy. Now this raises many other questions, but let's play the clip.
Our former borough president here in Staten Island, his name is James Oddo. He's now the commissioner of buildings in New York City. He's a vagina, and he doesn't have the balls to stand up to Eric Adams and tell him that 1111 Capodanno Boulevard is an unsafe place. There's no certificate of occupancy there. And Jim Oddo, if he cared about Staten Island like when he was the borough president, he should step up and tell Eric Adams that this is also an unacceptable and unsafe place. And if he doesn't, we'll just prove it like we did here, and Jim Oddo will have to comply with us.
Now, this is interesting. I'll outside of St. John's Villa Academy, no other venue has served as an epicenter for the war on migrant shelters more than 1111 Father Capodanno Boulevard. Play the next clip.
The former Island Shores Senior Living Facility, which the city designated as the newest migrant shelter.
We warn them, if you try to bring illegal aliens in here, the community is going to surround it, not permit them in.
In the end, 10 people were arrested. 9 for disorderly conduct and 1 for allegedly assaulting an officer who was trying to arrest people.
Now, that rally at 1111 Father Capodanno Boulevard, where 10 people got arrested and hordes of police officers fought to push back protesters so they could bring in busloads of illegal migrants into a building that isn't even legal to be occupied. Now, it can't be a coincidence that Father Capodanno Boulevard, as well as St. John's Villa and the other 2 shelters that were condemned in Staten Island, can be traced back to the New York Department of Buildings. Now, before I go any further, let's watch this next clip.
When you're at capacity, every day is a challenge.
When we open up these sites, it's not just FDNY that goes in, it's also the Department of Buildings that makes determinations about the building that we're in, what those occupancy levels are, etc. So there's a whole checklist that they review before we open up any of these sites.
Well, folks, the passing of the buck has already started. Now, if you don't know what's going on here, there was Mayor Adams' chief of staff, Camille Varlak, saying that it's the Department of Buildings who determine which buildings they use for the shelters. Well, that brings us back to Mr. James Oddo. Now, what makes this intriguing is what Mr. Oddo's job was before he got the Department of Buildings job working for the mayor. Well, he was borough president of Staten Island. Now, a former borough president of Staten Island would be well aware of the conditions of St. John's Villa Academy and that 1111 Father Capodanno Boulevard doesn't have a certificate of occupancy. Seems like somebody's on the clock here, doesn't it? It looks like the fix might be in. And the mayor is ready to pass the buck to Mr. Oddo for all the forthcoming human rights violations that are sure to come forward. I mean, can't you just see the New York Post headline now? Jimmy Oddo's migrant shelter shame. Human rights violations rock Staten Island. I hope it was worth it, James. You know, it probably went something like this. Mayor Adams was like, James, you have any idea where we can put these migrants? And then James was like, yeah, boss, you can throw them up in that old Catholic school over there. You know, kick the veterans off the beach. Who cares? That's a great idea, James. That's a great idea. Well, we'll see where this all leads. And I'll be sure to check underneath my car before starting the ignition from now on. I'm DiBrava. Hopefully I'll see you next time.